Jeffers. Welcome to We the People. Joining me in studio today, one of my special friends, Tim Utes, running for House of Representatives for the state of Minnesota. Hi, Tim.
How you doing, Sue?
Did you get your website up there?
I'm still working on it. You've taught, yeah, go ahead.
All right. Glad to have you with us today, Tim. Tim, you have been working so hard for the last couple years and getting out and about, meeting all the people all over where? Give us the rundown of the cities in your district.
Columbia Heights, St. Anthony, Hilltop, and Fridley. There we go. Part half of Fridley and a corner of St. Anthony.
And they recognize you not only by the big green bus, but by
my
your gorgeous letter jacket.
There we go. How's that look?
It looks fantastic. It's
Yes.
hard to miss you in
Yes,
that.
and we're getting ready for the summer version of this, which will be a couple of nice T-shirts that or dress shirts that we're going to have with the same stitching on it and whatnot. So, and we got a new one here too. We got these added to it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Those were added just a couple weeks ago.
Well, let's start out with, how do people get involved in your campaign?
They can go to our website, timutesforhouse.com, and sign up on there. Give us a contact through us an email or on the website. That would be the best way to get a hold of us, and then we can meet with them and get them involved in our campaign.
All kinds of things that they can do, whether it's calling people, door knocking.
Riding the bus, that's the big thing. Or we go to
Parades.
intersections and wave it, put our signs out. We did that a couple of weeks ago. And I was overwhelmed with the amount of support that was out there. Way more than the last time. I was just surprised. And in fact, somebody was in a passenger seat of a car and they had a little cell phone with their camera out and they took a picture of me. And my son calls about an hour later and says, "Hey, Dad, how's it going out there canvassing the neighborhood on Central Avenue?" And I go, "How do you know?" And he goes, "Well, my buddy sent an email over, so said that they'd seen you, and I took a picture and sent it to my son." So I was on Facebook before I even got done. Before I even knew what had happened, I was on Facebook that day. So
I'm really encouraged by the excitement that I'm seeing out and about as I travel across the state of Minnesota. It's amazing. People who have never paid attention to politics before are paying attention to politics.
yes, I think a lot of people are fed up. And the Republicans have work to do. People aren't just going back to the Republicans because they're on the ballot. People have to, Republicans like me have to actually have a message that the people that are voting for me are going to stand up and vote for. Otherwise, I think they're going to stay home. I've had more and more people tell me they're just so tired of both parties that they're even going to stay home. So I have my work cut out, even though I'm a Republican, I'm a constitutional Republican, which is a little different than your standard Republican. And so I have to actually work harder now because I got the Republican banner, and people are taking that the wrong way.
Right, you're the endorsed Republican candidate.
Right, yes.
And you're right, the Republican Party has a lot of work to do to restore the trust and credibility. And thankfully, we have lots of candidates like you who are out there
Yes.
day in and day out fighting for us. You also spend a lot of time over at the Capitol.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Tell us what's happening over there.
There's way too much going on. There's 3,700, 3,800 bills that they're trying to, from last year and this year, that they're trying to finalize. They're grouping them together in omnibus bills, which is illegal and unconstitutional, according to our state constitution. So if you don't like a bill, I would check and see if it's been put in with other bills, and you can go to court and sue, and probably get the bill repealed just on that about the omnibus process that goes on to state capitol. Because representatives can't get their bill passed on its own, so they bundle it up, and everybody goes home and says, "Oh, I tried my best, but I just couldn't do anything about it," and blah, 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 and that's kind of the excuse they make. And then all this has to stop. This has to stop. And people like me are going to go in there and just say, "Hey, we're done doing this. We're done playing games down at the Capitol with everybody's lives and their money."
It has to stop,
Yes.
because we've seen it for far too long,
Right.
and it gets worse and worse every year.
Everybody's focused on the federal level, which is way out of control. Well, I got news for everybody in Minnesota. The state level is way out of control too.
So this week over at the Capitol, I went over to hear one of the bills on forcing Minnesotans to conform with Obamacare.
Oh, yes.
It was horrible. But
3709, I think the bill was?
Yes, 3709. And the most amazing part of that is, as I got there, I walked up to the Capitol, and there were little clown cars driving all around the Capitol, little tiny little cars. And they were debating a bill on electric cars. And the House of Representatives, Hornstein, one of the House reps out of Minneapolis, was trying to introduce legislation to have plug-in stations where you could go and recharge your electric car. Now, it doesn't matter that not very many people have electric
Right.
cars, and nobody plans on buying these electric cars,
Right.
at least not in the next 10 years. But apparently Representative Hornstein believes we need these docking stations for electric cars. And then I got to go in and hear the nonsense of the conforming to Obamacare. And it's out of control, Tim.
People got to understand Obamacare is one thing at the federal level. Minnesota, we got a special group of representatives at the state capitol right now who really like this, including my opponent, Carolyn Lane, who introduced a bill last year that is even more Obamacare than what Obamacare is. It's the most pro single-payer health program that's ever been introduced. European countries don't even have the one that was introduced by Carolyn Lane last year. And so all this group of people are hopping on this bandwagon, and their proposal is to introduce Obamacare in full force next year. They're not waiting until 12, 14, 16 to introduce it. The Minnesota group of our leaders want to introduce this now. They want it to start next year.
Well, let's go back. The legislature, before Easter break, they were bragging what a wonderful session they'd had so far, that they'd cut some $300 million in budget cuts, and they've basically accomplished a couple of things. One was the GAMC.
Restoring it.
Right, restoring it.
So now we're spending another $600 million a year that we didn't have.
Right.
Right.
And the Obamacare conformity legislation requires them to put GAMC back on the table and fully funded.
Fully
by the way.
funded. Right.
And then they talked about how cutting this $300 million was such a wonderful thing. And then they had the bonding bill. So they claimed success.
Yeah, right.
What do you think?
Well, I'll go back to $300 million cut. That's great, but how does that compare when you add $700 million to the bill? You cut 300 from where? Because the people in leadership, I don't know. I've been down there watching them. I don't see them cutting anywhere. So they take out 300, add 700, add $1 billion, and we're $1 billion too short, or 990. I'll give the 995 million according to the February forecast. So the numbers aren't adding up. But I don't honestly. I've been down there enough. I don't think they carry calculators around there.
No.
They don't think they carry a stamp tax, but I don't think they carry calculators.
Well, and the part that amazed me too, they were singing their praises of their bonding bill, which they call a jobs bill, which we know better. It's maxing out the state credit card. And when they're working on this bonding bill and this GAMC bill, and they claim success, they go home for Easter break. Now they come back and they still have 70% of the budget that they have to deal with, K through 12 and Health and Human Services.
And they'll just get shoved through. I want to back up real quickly to the bonding bill. I was down state capitol when the unions, my brothers and sisters, union members for the construction industry were down there, and there's 1,000 of them or so protesting, and the Democrats took turns lining up and singing the praises of union membership and blah, blah, blah. Now, like I said, I've been a union member for 33 years. I believe in free association, literally. If you want to associate with the union or not, that's your choice. But what was going on is the Democrats that were at the speaking engagement were not telling the members, hey, here's the deal. The law does not require union prevailing wage contracts to be signed. The lowest competitive qualified bidder gets the job. Most of the time it's a union contractor, but there's no guarantee now it was like not Obama, but Plenty signed $700 million. There's no guarantee that $700 million is going to go to union contractors and employees like me who actually wanted the bill passed at some form to meet the needs of the state. And the membership's got to understand that. The Democrats going to say, yeah, I'm all for you, but there's no bone there's no, what's the word? Teeth. There, thank you. Thank you for bailing me out there, Sue. There's no teeth behind the action. And the Democrats aren't telling them that. And they're down there rah-rah, and the Democrats are running through, and that's what really frustrates me. I'm a Republican. I'm a 31-year union member, and I'm struggling to get endorsements from the labor unions, even though I've been a member, and my opponent's never been a member of the labor union. So it's really frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Yes.
Well, then you also have the problem of unallotment. We're going to have the unallotment ruling in April this month.